everyone, I'm Dina Proctor, life and business coach and author of the best-selling book, Madly Chasing Peace, How I Went From Hell to Happy in 9 minutes a day. I love working with individuals and businesses to use short bursts of meditation throughout their day to transform everything from their bodies to their relationships, to their financial situation and their businesses. It's my specialty, my passion, and where my expertise comes from. Thank you so much for tuning into my video today. I wanted to talk to you about relationships with other people, and if you've heard this term, energy vampires. Have you heard of this before? Energy vampire, the way that it's been described to me, is a person that you may be around that feels like they just drain your energy. It could be a person going through a hard time, or maybe a person that complains a lot, or someone in your life that you have to interact with but just feels heavy or draining to be around. Have you experienced this? Do you know kind of what I'm talking about? Well, I used to think that if I could just fix and change everybody, then I would be much better off, because I would have so much better, such better relationships and experiences and interactions with people. If I could just, if they would just live my way, if they would just kind of come around to living the way I live, I'd be much better off. And we all would. But of course, as I went through my evolution and came to my more spiritual way of living, I know now that it's never, ever our job to try and fix or change something for somebody else. I am a coach and I love coaching, and it's not about fixing or changing people when I'm coaching. It's about looking for the best inside of them and waking up that essence so that they can become their best selves. But it's really not about having them do it my way or changing them or fixing them at all. And so being around people that you find annoying or draining or heavy to be around is less about working on them and more about working on you. I've heard it said, it's probably an old saying of, when you are fully awake, you will no longer judge those who sleep. And I can recognize times, in my life where I was feeling that kind of moral superiority of, I know the way, this is the best way, you really should come around to doing it my way, we'll all be much happier then, So that's obviously not the best way to be looking at things. It's more about how to manage our energy, because the more that I find myself being fully awake, the less I feel impacted by what I used to experience as energy vampires or heavy or draining people to be around. So it's never ever about changing the other person. It's only ever about changing our perspective. Because the way that I look at it now is that I don't want to give my power away to anybody else. And I don't mean aggressive, dominant power. I mean that sense of empowerment, that feeling of being centered, grounded in my inner source of power, peace, and wisdom inside of myself. I don't want that to be taken away by anything. I don't want a circumstance or a financial situation or another person to be able to take away my sense of power, peace, and wisdom within. And so when we get grounded, centered inside of ourselves, we'll start to notice that nothing has the power to shake us anymore. We may bend, but we're not going to break over, different situations like this. Now, of course, in terms of if there's an active abuse going on, that's not really what I'm going at here. That's beyond the scope of my expertise. And I know there are lots of special organizations and hotlines and stuff to be able to help in those extreme situations. What I'm talking about here is just mild annoyances or feeling of, that feeling of tiredness or heaviness when you're around other people. That's what we're going for in this, in my little video here. So dealing with people where you're feeling drained when you're around them is more about your ability to stay grounded, centered, and plugged in within your own self. Now, what I've noticed is that it feels draining or heavy to be around people only when I am resisting how they're being. Does that make sense? So when I have resistance to, or think that somebody could do better or needs to change, it's like I'm feeling resistant. I'm rebelling against or butting up against the way that they are acting or the way that they are making decisions or holding themselves. When I'm able to completely lose my resistance to anything that they are doing or being, again, not in cases of extreme abuse, but just in these kind of mildly annoying situations, when I'm able to lower and let go of my resistance to what they're doing, I find that, first of all, the first step is that it doesn't have the power to bother me anymore. And the second thing that happens is that I notice that that behavior is becoming more and more infrequent. Because what's going on is I release my resistance, I raise my internal vibration, my internal temperature goes up. And to use an analogy, this isn't my analogy, but I can't remember where I first heard it, but I think it's really brilliant. When I think about increasing my vibrational temperature, as I'm increasing the temperature inside of myself, my vibration, I no longer can attract those terrible, horrible, snowy conditions, right? Those personalities or those situations and behaviors that really annoyed me and dragged me down before are no longer drawn into my experience. So it's about managing my energy, and the more that I can do it, I have a modality that I play within my 3x3 meditation practice, which means 3 minutes 3 times a day. And you can read more. I've got more kind of videos and resources on my website about pre-forgiveness, so you can find out more detail there. But the basic underlying premise behind it is that just for this meeting or these few minutes or the duration of this phone call, I am giving this person all the space in the world to be or do or say whatever they want to be or do or say, in whatever manner they want to be or do or say it. And so when I come from a place of I'm granting permission, this is okay with me that they're doing that thing that they're doing, or complaining, or doing that thing that normally had made me feel heavy before, I notice that in my allowing this to be, my resistance drops and my ability to stay plugged in dominates. And that's where I'm able to see this from. And instead of getting sucked into their energy or their drama, I notice that I'm able to stay within my center of power, peace, and wisdom. And by doing that, I am actually being of service to that other person. I'm looking from that place of being grounded, centered, and connected inside of myself, and looking for the best inside of them, that inner source of power, peace, and wisdom that they have inside of them. Whether they're recognizing it or in touch with it or not is entirely irrelevant. It's what I choose to see and what I choose to look for when I look at that other person. And so I lower my resistance to anything on the outside that may not be their best self, and I look for and speak to only that light that's inside of them. And the only way I can do that is if I'm grounded, peaceful, and centered within the light inside of me. So I hope that that makes sense. Like I said, there's more information and resources about pre-forgiveness, that modality, and steps you can take to get through in my book and video course and the other videos that I have on my website. So take a moment, look around, and see if that resonates with you. As always, take what you like and leave the rest behind. I so appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so very much, and I'll see you next time.